But I wanted to just bring in a few other perspectives to this. And Raymond Carlsen, CEO of Scatec Solar, operates in the sector globally. Raymond, so James spoke about project preparation, funding, all the way to project development. When you are engaging on a project, at what point, I'm sure you're starting to think of how to find partners along the way, how to bring financiers into it. At what point do you start thinking about partners and financing for project development? And also, since you operate globally, talk a little bit about what you see different and similar in Africa that you see in the rest of the world as well.
Thank you very much. If you take a look at our pipeline, backlog and opportunity list right now, it's about 3.5 gigawatt, so it's substantial. The way that we categorize the project is that we charge all the development expenses to the P&L until it's a 50% probability of this actually being a real project. After that, the expenses, and they increase substantially up to 50%, will be charged to the balance sheet. Of course, if we do not succeed, it's a loss. And we're a listed company and are having this quarterly nightmare where people are wondering why one of our values is being predictable. So for us, it's important to involve the development banks at the very early stage. In the early days, we were faring very well with the type of experience we didn't have. I mean, understanding governments, understanding why things take time, helping us more or to focus directly on what we need to resolve. But even with that, things take longer than anticipated. I said this morning that we decided not to stay in Namibia. There are several of the other countries that has been mentioned today that are suffering, I think, from the same thing, and that is the procurement programs are not mature. They don't know how to put things together in a bankable fashion. And they're also, and I think that includes to a certain extent, the whole industry, they are being polluted by the extreme reduction in cost from solar. So everybody's like the computer industry. You wait 1 year and your computer will be twice as fast, right? But of course, you're not helping the economy. You're not helping anybody by waiting. What we think is extremely important is to actually create predictability in the way that the authorities are handling these procurement programs. And I think the DFI can help doing that. If there are any differences between where we operate in, for example, Honduras or elsewhere in Central America, South Asia, Africa, I don't think so. I mean, these emerging economies have a few challenges, and I think you see similarities, both on the negative side, but also on the positive side. I think that project finance and the way that deals are put together is being more and more copycatted from one project to the other. I like to commend South Africa. I've done that many times before. My biggest worry was that this REIPP program wouldn't take off. And I was so worried that I decided to move here to be sitting next to the process. So I stayed there for a couple of years, and after we were successful as well, to make sure that we delivered according to what we had promised. If this first round hadn't happened, South Africa would not have enjoyed the drop in price from 25 US cents or 2-3 rand per kilowatt hour down to our round 4 price of 0.7 rand. And I'm happy to report to you that even at that level, we're making 15% on after tax on the sale of electricity and also on construction. So should everybody be expecting 5 US cents? No. You should expect a much higher price initially. And then, once you've established the behavior and how you deal with the complex issues, you will benefit in the longer term. And as a digression, I mean, it's kind of interesting to look at this 0.79 rand per kilowatt hour. incidentally, is identical to the cost of distribution in Norway. You can't beat that, you know, because if production of electricity becomes cheaper than distribution, you don't distribute. So this is what we will see over the next 5 to 10 years. But I would love to have, you know, our partners share more of the cost that we have to charge of our P&L. I think we can develop much, much more rapidly than what we have done in the past. And I have to say that we have been fairly successful. I mean, we haven't had to write off a lot of projects. And that's thanks to, I think, our partners and the way that we're actually running our business.
Thanks. Thanks, Raymond.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.